Picture me, sitting in the back of a lecture hall, glassy-eyed and slightly uncomfortable 10 minutes after the scheduled end of a seminar speaker. As typical, for most talks I've heard this during my first year, I was only able to follow the speaker for the first 10 to 15 minutes of the hour. It's okay though. At this point, I've come to peace with the fact that there is simply not enough time to prepare adequately to comprehend high-level talks in every subfield of earth science, nearly all of which I'm essentially unfamiliar with. That took way longer than it should have, but that's besides the point. It's 10 minutes after the end, and a senior scientist is drilling the professor with a series of questions and comments. In all honesty, my initial reaction is negative. I think to myself, it's just the timing of Cenozoic cooling. It's not that deep. To be clear, the example is made up, although probably a contentious scientific debate somewhere. Definitely a contentious scientific debate somewhere. It's more about the emotion that the situation sparked in me. Why do I feel this emotion? Is it the content of the professor's statements? Well, that's not a justifiable answer, because I just admitted to not comprehending the nuances of much of the talk. What then? That can't be my reason, right? Is it the tone of the voice of the scientist? Well, certainly that plays some role. They sound generally vexed and slightly dismissive of the speaker, and I don't feel it's warranted. But hold up, I've been an athlete my whole life. The current tone I'm viewing as potentially problematic is a satin robe after a shower of flower petals and agave nectar compared to nearly every coach I've had. And while others may have found the tone of my coaches to be unacceptable, I grew up with it. It doesn't bother me, not for a split second. I'm not even convinced that I don't see value in it to some degree. How then can I find a little passive aggression at a seminar to be discomforting? Doesn't make sense. Well, maybe it's because it's just Cenozoic cooling. How much can it really matter in the grand scheme of each of our lives or the broader human condition? Obviously, the same argument can be made about sports. The important thing is, I figured it out, right? When I hear about two professors of old going at each other's throats and often despising each other over scientific debates, it seems laughable to me because it's just fill in the blank. Nobody cares. Maybe 25 people on planet Earth fully comprehend the debate. The resolution of the debate will likely be talked about by a handful of people over the course of a handful of moments in the next handful of years. It's just a niche scientific topic, and in some sense, that argument is damning. It is true that in the halls of an academic department, the perspective of the relevance of societal importance is lost. And I value humility above nearly everything else, so of course I lead with, it's just. It's just as high rebuff praise over silly awards. It's in essence, a destined byproduct of my worldview that one should always lead with humility. But it's just as powerful. It has this Thanos finger snap-like power in the heart and the mind. Because what is not just something? Everything we do as humans is reducible to it's just. Human civilization is just a short-lived species of hairless apes creating pointy cold things. The earth itself is just. Come on, I'm a geologist. I know I can put all of this into a perspective that makes everything feel infinitesimally small. Even the discussion of geology in the scientific form can be slayed by it's just. The whole beginning of this video was me undermining the grandiosity of the scientific form and scientific discourse with it's just. It's all just. This is a video about existentialism, and I didn't intend for it to be this way. I just wanted to understand why I thought it's just during the seminar. So maybe it's not right to say it's just. Maybe I should appreciate how awesome it is that someone has devoted their entire life to understanding Cenozoic cooling. Isn't that amazing that even some humans get to participate in this life's work type of pursuit? Maybe the progress of humanity is the gradual transition of humans participating and mostly obviously meaningful tasks to more esoteric tasks as we continue to try and understand the universe around us through the countless avenues we've developed. It seems entirely possible that an ornery professor in the fourth row of a lecture hall is the highest aspiration of humankind. And if so, what the hell do I do with that? So yeah, do I think sometimes professors forget that outside the ivory tower, no one has heard of them or even remotely gives a shit about anything they've ever done or care about? Clearly. And do I think that lessons in humility would not only improve the scientific community itself, but also its interactions with the public? Absolutely. I think humility is a virtue that is generally lacking from our leaders, scientific or otherwise. And its widespread adoption would fundamentally change the way in which our society works. But I've also come around to the idea that maybe, in some way, that professor who was being a bit of an asshole is the man in Teddy Roosevelt's arena, or something like that. Maybe I should praise them for having the courage in life to care about something and follow that thing passionately. Are we even sure our limited cognitive minds could make progress in all of these areas we have without people who devote themselves entirely to tackling some problem that in the full scope of the human species is nothing short of unimaginably difficult? It's obvious to me that we sit at an inflection point for science and its shape and role in the modern world. In America, the university seems to be falling out of favor with every party involved. Faculty feel as though they've emerged from the strenuous academic proving grounds only to be underfunded, overbooked, and potentially attacked by students. Research scientists don't feel appreciated by faculty, postdocs are in the midst of repeated life upheaval, graduate students clamor about being underpaid and overworked, and that brings me to undergrads, the group I think I unknowingly made this video for. Undergraduate students are disgruntled by the cost of a college degree, and why shouldn't they be? It seems as though the university has mixed its true mission as a place of education and educating with the mission of certificate giving. The latter, of course, places them as the toll booth in the path to success in this country, arguably the most lucrative position an institution could be in this country. Most students simply want the credentials to advance in society. Mind you, is that not the American dream? And yet, they are forced to go to universities, who from their perspective bog them down with this educating nonsense. That is the mindset of the average student. Once you realize that, it becomes easy to understand why the whole thing is becoming a pressure cooker. Most of these cries about the decline of free speech and the rise of cancel culture in the American university miss this critical point. So students get mad at their professors and other students. And the question is, when, where, and to what degree should the voices of students dictate the atmosphere of the university? And honestly, this is a topic for another person more eloquent, intelligent, and capable of dancing around difficult topics than me. But there is one thing that this exercise made me realize. After my initial emotional response to the moment, I paused and very briefly attempted to view the actions of someone else in the most radically positive light I could imagine. I think I'm better for that brief pause. I think I understand and value the people around me more than I previously did because of that moment. Maybe in this university setting, a place where there are drastically different groups with drastically different goals, we could all benefit from taking a moment to view the actions of others in the most radically positive light we could imagine. Maybe that will help. Or maybe it won't. What do I know? Just a kid with some thoughts.